50 years ago tonight, the world was introduced to the great pumpkin Charlie Brown. Tonight, for the very first time, the exclusive behind-the-scenes story of how a group of Northern Californians made it happen.
The whole story of the great pumpkin Charlie Brown just simply came about of my dad thinking, well, what if a kid got the holidays mixed up?
A lot of people don't know this, that Peanuts creator Charles Schulz, producer Lee Mendelson, and all the musicians were all working in the Bay Area when they created the holiday classic. And even fewer know that the network that originally aired it absolutely hated the show until they saw the ratings. Tonight, KCRA 3's Mike Carroll gives us a look at the great pumpkin that has never before been caught on camera, and you can't see it anywhere else.
From the opening sequence where Linus is rolling the pumpkin in the house, that's right from the opening sequence.
These original 50-year-old hand-drawn, hand-painted animation cells are about all that remains from the classic Charlie Brown Halloween special.
Back then, it took 10,000 cells for a half hour, all hand-painted.
So they'd move them 12 times in each second to create these movies. And when they were done, they would just throw them in the dumpsters behind the building there.
First broadcast on CBS on October 27, 1966, a Sunday night 50 years ago. Charlie Brown and the Peanuts comic strip were the brainchild of Charles Schulz, born in Minnesota, but who made his life here in Northern California in Santa Rosa.
Schulz did about 17,897 strips in the lifetime of Peanuts. Wrote the strip, he inked the strip on his own, he did everything himself.
This stuff is really special to see. This is really the history of kind of where it all took off at.
Craig Schulz is Charles Schulz's son, who recently carried on the family business as producer and writer of the Peanuts movie.
He literally wouldn't take advice from anybody. If you gave him an idea, he wouldn't use it.
Just a year before, the Charlie Brown Christmas special had aired on CBS.
The CBS executives looked at it, they all hated it. They thought this is never going to make money on this show, and we probably shouldn't even air it.
And then we ran it, and half the country tuned in. We got a 50% share of the audience. And the guy from CBS called up and he said, well, we're going to order 4 more shows, but I want you to know my aunt in New Jersey didn't like it either.
And the whole story of the great pumpkin Charlie Brown just simply came about of my dad thinking, well, what if a kid got the holidays mixed up?
The great pumpkin knows which kids have been good and which kids have been bad.
He had 5 kids, so he got to see some of all the dumb things we did as kids.
Charles Schulz, Lee Mendelson, and animator Bill Melendez teamed up again. Were given 6 months and $75,000 to create another blockbuster.
When we were talking about the trick-or-treating, Mr. Schulz started to laugh. I said, what are you laughing about? He says, I got a great idea. We'll have somebody put a rock in Charlie Brown's. And he started to laugh uproariously. He thought this was the funniest thing. And I thought it was too cruel. And I kind of half-jokingly said, you know, that's pretty mean. And Bill Melendez says, no, it's not mean. Let's do it 3 times.
I got a rock. I got a rock. I got a rock.
On a funny side, when my nephew was growing up, we'd go out trick-or-treating with him every year. And I always find a rock, and I was slipping in his bag every year from when he was like 5 years old till he was like 16. He could never figure out where that rock came from for like 10 years. Because I get a rock. Every year I get a rock. Where's this rock coming from?
This special also marked the first appearance of the Red Baron.
I ended up seeing my brother making model airplanes and so forth, and thought it wouldn't be funny if I dressed Snoopy up as a World War flying ace. And you try it once and you get the response, and then it's the best thing you ever thought of.
It's the great pumpkin Charlie Brown was remarkable for a number of reasons. For one, it was the early days of color television, and no one had seen a cartoon with such vivid watercolor skies and autumn leaves as animator Bill Melendez had created.
This was Bill Melendez's masterpiece.
The colors in that film were much more vivid than they were in Christmas. Christmas was much more muted down. I think people liked the look of pumpkin much greater.
We did 50 shows together, 50 specials, but I always considered this was his masterpiece.
And also for the words that came out of the mouths of the Peanuts characters, who were all voiced by real children between the ages of 6 and 10.
Peculiar thing about this document, it was never notarized.
The strip wasn't necessarily for children, it was more for adults.
Charles Schulz said, I never wrote for kids.
You can look all around and there's not a sign of hypocrisy.
He wrote for adults, and he used adult language frequently, and words that you would never hear in a cartoon, like hypocrisy or whatever.
You blockheads!
50 years, and a bookcase lined with Emmy Awards later, a total of 50 Charlie Brown specials have been produced. But it is generally regarded that It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown was the best. And even now, a half century after it was first broadcast, it is still considered to be one of the finest holiday television specials ever produced.
We didn't think it'd endure one broadcast, and it endured 50 years, so who knows?
1, 2, 3.
Every year now, thousands and thousands of people from across the country and around the globe are drawn to the Charles M. Schulz Museum in Santa Rosa to see his original hand-drawn artwork and the very desk and office space where Charles Schulz created everything.
And you really see that, I mean, the true honest passion and love for Peanuts is astounding to me, because you can be in the farthest away regions of the planet and you'll see Snoopy and it touches someone somewhere, some child, some mother, and so forth.
Mr. Schulz always dealt with what I call eternal truths, much like a John Steinbeck or any of our great writers or painters, that what he believed was important 50 years ago to us is still important today.
In Santa Rosa, I'm Mike Carroll, KCRA 3 News.
Blech! My lips touch dog lips!
Well, It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown continues to run every year on another network. KCRA 3 actually has a pretty unique connection. Listen to this. So when he was in the Air Force, the producer, the man you see here, Lee Mendelson, served at McClellan Air Force Base, and when he was discharged, the very first job he applied for was right here at KCRA 3 News. But didn't work out. Didn't get the job. I think he did okay for himself.
He did all right.
Though.
He did okay.
Yeah. Just today, Mendelson sent us this note saying, "Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. I'm finally with KCRA after 60 years." We love that, Lee. So happy for you. And if you'd like to see and hear more exclusives about Charles Schulz and Peanuts and the specials, you can watch both Craig Schulz and Lee Mendelson's interviews in their entirety, as well as photographs of the Charlie Brown artwork, by following the link on our KCRA 3 mobile app. Wow. I can't wait till my daughter's old enough to really understand that movie, but it's a classic.
And you know, it's been around for so long now that, I mean, you're talking 3 generations now that can all enjoy it, and it's almost like when you watch it with your kids, it's like you're watching it again for the first time, so it's really fun.